Hi all, I'm Professor Tina Good, and this video will be discussing your character analysis essay assignment. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at the assignment prompt itself. Okay, so first I want to scroll down so you see the actual prompt, and then we'll go back up and look at the requirements of the essay. So for this essay, you must choose a minor or silenced character from the novel, The Boatbuilder. Okay, that means, guys, that you cannot analyze the characters of either Alejandro or Berg. You can choose any other character from the novel, but you may not analyze for this essay assignment either Alejandro or Berg. Many of you have asked me if you can develop your writing response into your essay and use the same character. Yes, you absolutely may. So for example, if you chose to write about Nell in your writing response and you want to develop that into a 3 to 5 page essay, you certainly may do that. However, if Nell wasn't your cup of tea and you want to develop an essay based on another character that you perhaps connected with in a more significant way, you certainly may do so, as long as it's not Berg or Alejandro. This novel is rich with wonderful characters to explore. I've given you a list of possibilities to consider, but you certainly can go beyond that list. There are many other characters in the novel. These are just some of the favorites. Okay, another thing that I want to emphasize is that you may not use any outside sources for writing this essay. Okay, so don't even read any other outside sources about this essay. Do not Google, do not use ChatGPT, do not get yourself into trouble, because if you do use any outside sources, I will reject the essay. Okay, so this is a major part of your grade. You do not want to get a 0. I cannot imagine the possibility of passing this class with a 0 on the essay. So do not let that happen to you. This essay is about practicing your skills in literary analysis, your skills in interpretation, and your skills in writing. Okay, so I am not interested in anybody's ideas. This is about your ideas and developing your interpretation skills. Okay, all right. So don't let that happen to you. And also, what you must do is you must use the TIEIA format. If you don't know what that is, you're already in a little bit of trouble. So go back and watch that video. It's really important that you do so. And I will not accept any essay whose body paragraphs do not consistently follow the TIEIA format. Okay, I am not going to bend on that. So make sure that you have an awareness. Listen, I don't expect it to be perfect, but I do expect that you are practicing it. And I do want to let you know that for the purposes of this essay, I do want you, for the most part, analyzing direct quotes. I want you to stay away from paraphrasing for the most part until we get more adept at using our analytical skills. So focus on bringing in actual passages from the novel to interpret and analyze. Okay. Another thing that I want you to be careful of, and this is another reason why I don't really want you doing paraphrasing, is I want you to avoid plot summary. Okay, I read the novel. You know, your audience for literary analysis is generally somebody who has read the work that you're discussing. So you might give a little context, but you do not want a lot of plot summary. So if you're starting to write, you know, first this happened, then this happened, then you are lapsing into plot summary, and you need to pull back and focus more on literary analysis. This is why the TIEIA format is useful. It will help you keep away from plot summary if, number one, you use topic sentences that are arguable, and number two, you analyze quotes rather than paraphrasing. Okay, so stay away from that. Other things to think about is when you're writing your essays, what question are you answering, right? Your thesis statement should not be a question itself. It should be answering a question, right? So if you're ending your introduction with a question, you don't have a thesis statement yet. Answer that question, and you likely will have a thesis statement, right? A thesis statement is something that answers a question, and it is arguable. And what does that mean? That somebody could argue against your point because they have a different interpretation of the evidence. All right. So therefore, you cannot describe what is happening in the novel. That cannot be the focus of your thesis statement. That cannot be the focus of your argument, right? So you would not want to argue that Nell is focused on her career, let's say, because the novel actually tells us that she is focused on her career. We're not learning anything. There's no argument there, right? So make sure that you are not simply describing what happens in the novel, but that instead you are interpreting the quotes and using those quotes to prove an overall thesis statement that somebody could argue against if they could interpret the evidence differently. Okay. So also when you're, thinking about your thesis statement as being arguable, be sure that you make sure that your topic sentences for each of your body paragraphs is arguable. Okay. So that first sentence in each of your body paragraphs should be like a mini thesis statement, something that somebody could argue against. And then you're going to use that paragraph to prove your why you believe your topic sentence to be valid. Okay, so if you're starting out your body paragraph with describing something that's happening in the novel, you do not have a topic sentence, right? You have lapsed into plot summary, and that is going to get you into trouble. Okay, so stay away from plot summary. Make sure your thesis statement and your topic sentences are arguable, and that means not that somebody else is wrong, but that they could interpret the evidence that you are presenting differently, which means that you have to show why the evidence means what you say it means, why you are making the connections that you are making, right? And you will be able to do that using the TIEIA format. All right, so a character analysis. I've given you a lot of questions to think about when doing a character analysis. I've given you a couple of videos to think about when doing a character analysis. But, at its core, guys, what I want you to think about is whether or not your character is a flat or round character, okay? If your character is a round character, that means that that character has had a climactic moment, that there is conflict in that character's journey in the novel, and that as a result of that conflict, as a result of that climactic moment, that the character is somehow changed, that the character is different at the end of the novel than at the beginning of the novel, okay? And so if that is the case, then what you will analyze is the significance of the change. What do we learn by looking at this character's change, right? And the answer to that question will be your thesis statement, and then you show us how you arrived at that by analyzing the evidence within the novel, okay? If you decide that your character is a flat character, maybe the character has no voice at all, in which case it would be a silenced character, and yet somehow is in the novel, right? So that would be a symbol. And so what is that character symbolizing, right? And what do we learn from that symbol within the novel? Maybe your character, has some voice, but really no conflict or climactic moment, okay? So that character could still be a symbol, or perhaps is a stereotype, right? And so if you decide that, say for example, like Nell, maybe you've decided that Nell is a stereotype of a supportive girlfriend. Okay, maybe that's what you've decided. So is Nell then, is she perpetuating that stereotype, right? And if so, what is that suggesting about the culture in which Nell lives? Or is she challenging that stereotype, right? And what do we learn if you believe she's challenging it? In what ways is she challenging it? And what does that suggest? What are we learning from that challenge? Even though she has not changed, right? Her existence in the novel is a challenge to this stereotype, right? You decide. Or maybe your character does have a conflict, right? Maybe your character does have a climactic moment, but still doesn't change, right? That's really significant, right? So what if that character has this conflict and doesn't change, has this climactic moment and doesn't change? What is that suggesting about the conflict that character is involved in, right? What can we learn from that conflict? What is being suggested? That this conflict is so significant that even with all of this, the character is unable to change. Okay, so really start at the core with looking at whether or not your character is a round or flat character. And again, do not focus your analysis on just the impact your character may have on our main characters. Yes, that may figure into it, but you are analyzing our characters separate and unto themselves, not just their impact on others in the novel. Okay? All right. So let's go back up to the top. You must submit your essay in order to pass the class, right? You cannot have an unsubmitted essay and still pass the class, right? So you must submit the essay to pass the class. It must be a minimum of 3 to 5 pages, typed, Times New Roman 12, and double-spaced, obviously double-spaced. But remember, guys, blocked quotes, that is quotes that, are longer than 2 lines and are indented, they do not count towards your overall length. So if you have, 2 or 3 block quotes, you're going to need to go on to that 4th page, okay? Because the quoted material, it does not count towards your over essay length. Okay. Remember, you have to submit it on Brightspace using as a Microsoft Word document or a PDF. I will not accept any documents that do not conform to that format. Okay, so that's the nuts and bolts of the requirements. And then getting into the writing, remember your introduction should be attention getting. Do not start out your essay with some generalized statement about society in general. You want to focus your introduction strictly on the novel itself, right? You cannot use the novel to prove something, outside of the novel, right? You cannot use the novel to prove something about addiction, right? You cannot use the novel to prove something about, relationships. You must be proving something about the novel itself. So don't get yourself into trouble by opening up your introduction by discussing something outside of the novel. Stick to the novel. Now, ways to do your hook is by asking a question about the novel. That's a great way to do it. You just need to make sure you answer that question. Bringing in a provocative moment in the novel that somehow connects to what you're going to be discussing in your essay. A provocative quote from the novel, right? Something that is in the novel that is your hook and will be attention getting, okay? Remember, you must have the title of the novel in your introduction, as well as the full name of the author. Be sure you italicize the title of the novel and that you include the full name of the author properly spelled. Okay. People have asked me whether or not they need to do a works cited page for this essay. They do not, because we are only working with the primary source. That doesn't mean that when you are doing your quotations in the body that you shouldn't put page numbers. You absolutely need to put your page numbers from the novel. Okay, so make sure you put the page numbers. You just don't need to have a works cited page. All right. We've already talked about the thesis statement. Just make sure that your thesis statement comes at the end of your introduction. All right. The conclusion. This is where now you can bring in information from outside the text, right? So essentially in your conclusion, what I don't want you to do is summarize your thesis statement and your argument. I don't want you to do that. It's not that long of an essay. But what I do want you to do is go like, okay, here is your thesis statement. You have proven it. What does it suggest to us? Why is your essay relevant to us? Why should I care? Why should your classmates care? Why should your friends care? Why should, you know, this, why should it be important to them? Right. So discuss. Now you can show like, you're not proving something anymore. You're showing why your thesis statement is relevant to us living in this world today. Okay. This is a place where maybe you want to make a personal connection, like how you connected to it, why you connected to it, why it's important to you, or why it should be important to others. Okay. So show your relevance to today's world, right, in 2023, whether it's the world at large, whether it's you, whether it's a group of friends, you know, a smaller group, a community, a town, you know, our country, however you want to show your relevance, show that, right? And then again, your TIEIA formula is a required formula. I want you to stick to using quoted materials as much as possible. And also, you know, here's a tip: only analyze one quote per paragraph. Okay, your topic sentences, if they have an and in them, you may be trying to develop too many points in one paragraph. Remember, 1 point per paragraph. Make sure your topic sentence is limited to only proving 1 point in that paragraph. If you've got an and in, probably trying to prove 2 points. In order to keep yourself on track, also only analyze one quote per paragraph, and make sure it's not a long quote, right? No longer than 4 lines. And that might even be too long, right? But 1 quote per paragraph, 1 point per paragraph, right? And then you want to show how that paragraph is working towards proving your thesis statement. Listen, you might need 2 or 3 TIEI paragraphs working together to work towards that thesis statement, you know, but it should be working toward it. I do want you to pay attention to proofreading. I have a video out for you to watch to help you with your proofreading process. So I will be considering that when grading your essay. But really what's most important is that you pay attention to your own errors. You know, listen, if you have a lot of errors or a lot of patterns of problems, you can't focus on all of those at one time. So choose 1 or 2 of what you think are the most significant of your patterned errors and just work on those, right? And try to be careful about proofreading as far as typing errors, and like over capitalizing or things like that, spelling errors, things like that, where your technology should help you with that. So do be careful with careless mistakes, but also try to then improve at least 1 or 2, if you have them, of your patterned errors, whether that's, you know, sentence fragments, run-on sentences, you know, whatever that might be. Try to work on that. Now, people have asked me, will they be able to revise this essay? Yes, I will be giving you feedback on the essay with the idea in mind that you will be revising it. However, revision is optional. Okay, so you don't have to revise your essay. If you are happy with your grade, you are done. You don't have to do work on this essay anymore, right? But if you do want to revise your essay, the due date for revisions is posted on the syllabus, but you can take my feedback and then revise your essay. I will not consider revisions that only deal with proofreading errors. You will have to have substantive revisions in order for me to consider it. But I don't want you to feel like this is your last chance. It's a one and done type of deal that you either do well on this essay or it's over. That is not the case. I will give you feedback and you will have the opportunity to revise should you choose to. Again, not mandatory. So I hope that this video has been useful. Again, if you have any questions about the assignment, feel free to email me. But everybody, guys, remember, I do not check email on Sundays. Okay. So if you have questions, do not wait until the last minute to get those questions to me. All right. Good luck. I look forward to reading your essays. And I hope that this experience helps you enjoy the novel even more. Okay, have a good day.